Mom, please, I am hungry. I have been working since morning. This is past 12. You, this lazy girl, who gave you the temerity to talk to me like that? Her stepmother said. Naomi's life has been a heartbreaking tale of sorrow and pain. She grew up in a small village, living with her dad and her cruel stepmom, Mrs. Rose. Her biological mother abandoned her when she was just 7 months old, leaving her with a deep scar that would never heal. Naomi never understood why her mom left her at that little stage. Was I not good enough? Was I a mistake? Naomi thought. The questions haunted her and the pain of her departure lingered, a constant reminder of the fragility of love. Naomi's dad, a kind and gentle man, worked hard to provide for her. But his love and care were overshadowed by the cruelty of her stepmom, Mrs. Rose. She brought misery and suffering into their home, and she became a victim of her wrath. Mrs. Rose had 2 children of her own, Chijubem and Chinaza. They were her world, and she showered them with love and attention. But for Naomi it was only hunger, thirst, and loneliness. She barely gave her food to eat, and when she did, it was only the leftovers from their meals. Her dad was never around to protect her. He was always away, working to make ends meet. Naomi felt so alone, so unwanted. The pain of her mom's abandonment and her stepmom's cruelty was suffocating her. Naomi longed for love, for acceptance, for someone to call my own. But it seemed like a distant dream, a mirage that vanished every time she tried to reach out for it. Naomi felt like a bird without wings, trapped in a cage with no way out. Her heart ached every day, longing for love and acceptance. But her stepmom's cruelty only grew stronger. One day, Naomi was so hungry, she couldn't bear it. She asked her stepmom for food, but she just laughed and said, "You're not my child, why should I feed you?" Naomi felt a sharp pain in my heart, like a knife stabbing her again and again. She cried and cried, but no one came to comfort her. Naomi's dad was away, working hard to provide for them, but he didn't know about the pain she suffered every day. She felt so alone, so unwanted. Naomi wished her mom was there to hug her, to tell her everything would be okay. But she was gone, and she was left with nothing but tears and sorrow. Naomi sitting beside her bed, her tummy hurt from hunger. She wondered why nobody loved her. Why did my mom leave me? Why did my stepmom treat me like a stranger? Why didn't my dad see my pain? Naomi exclaimed. Naomi cried quietly, but her heart screamed in sadness. She felt like a small leaf, crushed by the weight of being unwanted. She was torn away from love and acceptance. One night, as Naomi sat on her bed feeling hungry, she heard laughter and happiness coming from the dining area. Mrs. Rose's children were celebrating their birthday with love, food, and gifts. She went to the dining table to celebrate with them, but got chased out and was sent to my room. The pain was too much to bear. She cried uncontrollably, her body shaking with sobs. She begged for someone to hear her cry. She felt like she was drowning in sadness, with no one to save her. In that dark moment, she asked herself, is this what it means to be unloved? The silence was deafening, a reminder that she was truly alone. Her tears fell like rain, a flood of sorrow, as she whispered, God, why is my life like this? Am I not a human like them too? So the next morning, Naomi got dressed up, finished up all the house chores and then decided to go to school. Good morning, Mommy, she greeted. Who are you calling your mommy, you demonic child? Do I look like your runaway mother? My stepmom asked. Mommy, please, I am running late already for school. Are you stupid? Are you deaf? A dirty slap landed on her face. Didn't you hear that you should stop calling your mom? The word pierced her heart like an arrow. She was short of words. She tried controlling her emotional, but it turns out that instant tears started pouring out from her eyes. I am hungry, stepmom, please, even if it's 100 naira note, please give to me, I pleaded. Come and eat me, you fool. will you get out of here, she ordered. On hearing what she said, the tears in her eyes increases, she began crying, standing close to the door. Her 17-year-old son called Chijibem began laughing at her crying. Don't you hear, leave Naomi, now I see you're trying to see what my mom can do right, Chijibem said, coming to her direction. Immediately he pushed her outside, kicking Naomi to the ground. Stepmom, please, I won't be able to go to school with an empty stomach like this, please. Pity me for just today, please, I pleaded. Since you refuse to go to school with an empty stomach, now go inside and pull off those rags you call uniform now. Mama, please, I can't stop school today, please. Okay, I will go, she said, cleaning the tears from her face. You're no longer going to school today. For disobeying me, no more school for you, till further notice. Now I repeat again, go in, pull off those rags and then carry that clay pot in the backyard to fetch water for me. Naomi couldn't defend herself, she begged and begged, but it seems her whole pleading fell to the ground. So she had no other option than to go and do as she said. As she pulled off her uniforms, the tears increased, streaming down her face like a rain. As long as I am in this house, Naomi, I promise I will do anything with my power to make your life miserable and heartless, filled with agony and sorrowful. She said, her voice very audible from the house. As she carried the clay pot on her head, tears streamed down her face. As she fetched water from the village stream and was returning home, her heart heavy with sorrow. But her stepmom's anger awaited her. Naomi, what took you so long? She snapped. Stepmom, I left just a few minutes ago, Naomi replied, confused. Her face twisted in rage. Are you stupid? Why are you questioning me? Before Naomi could react, she grabbed the pot from her head and poured the water all over her. The cold liquid soaked her to the bone. Then, she held the pot to the ground, shattering it into pieces. Look what you've done, she shouted. Go inside, remove your clothes, and wait for me in the room. Naomi was speechless, her heart racing with fear. She wanted to run, but where could she go? She had no one to turn to, no friend to comfort her. So, Naomi obeyed, her body trembling with dread. As she entered the house, she knew she was in grave trouble. Her stepmom's cruelty knew no bounds, and she was at her mercy. She quickly removed her clothes, trembling with fear, and waited for her in her room. She entered, with a cane and a bowl of blended pepper, her eyes blazing with anger. Stepmom, please, forgive me, I'll never delay again, I promise, Naomi begged, tears streaming down her face. But she showed no mercy. Lie down now, you'll never disobey me again, she shouted, raising the cane to strike. Naomi pleaded, crying, as she flogged her mercilessly, from head to toe. Somebody, please help me, Naomi screamed, but she just laughed. Then, she applied the burning pepper to her eyes, armpits, and private parts. She writhed in agony, but she didn't stop. After the beating, she threw Naomi into the toilet and locked her in. You'll stay here all day, Naomi, she spat, her voice cold and heartless. She was trapped, alone and helpless, her body and spirit shattered by her cruelty. She cried and cried, her body aching from the beating. Naomi felt like she was all alone in the world, with no one to love her or care for her. The pepper burned her skin, and she couldn't stop screaming. Why is my stepmom so cruel to me? What did I do to deserve this? She thought of her mom, who left her when she was just a baby. I wished she was here to protect me. Naomi cried. As the hours passed, Naomi grew weaker and weaker. She was hungry, thirsty, and in so much pain. She just wanted it all to end. But then, she heard her stepmom's voice outside the toilet door. Naomi, by the time I am done with you, you will learn to do whatever I tell you to do, as fast as possible, she said. You'll never amount to anything. Naomi broke down completely, sobbing uncontrollably. Her heart shattered into pieces. As the darkness closed in around her, Naomi felt like she was drowning in a sea of despair. Her stepmom's words cut deep, and she couldn't shake off the feeling of worthlessness. She curled up on the cold floor, her body trembling with sobs. Just then, she heard a faint noise outside the toilet door. It was a soft whisper, a gentle voice calling her name. Naomi, Naomi, are you okay? Naomi's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the voice. It was her stepmom's daughter, Chinaza, her half-sister. She was the only one who showed her kindness in that cruel household. Chinaza, please help me, Naomi whispered back, her voice barely audible. The door creaked open, and Chinaza slipped in, her eyes filled with concern. Oh, Naomi, what did she do to you? She asked, tears welling up in her eyes. Naomi couldn't speak, she just shook her head, and Chinaza hugged her tightly. For the first time in a long time, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe she wasn't alone after all. Chinaza held her close, her warmth and kindness enveloping her like a shield. She helped Naomi up, and they crept out of the toilet, avoiding her stepmom's wrath. In the safety of Chinaza's room, she tended to Naomi's wounds, applying gentle touches and soft words. Naomi looked at her, she was a little bit relieved. She was her only ally in this cruel world. Why are you so kind to me, Chinaza? Naomi asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Chinaza's eyes filled with tears. Because, Naomi, we're sisters. And I know what it's like to be hurt by our stepmom's cruelty. But I promise you, I'll always be here for you. Naomi felt a bond form between them, a connection that went beyond words. They were two souls, united in their suffering, but also in their hope for a better tomorrow. What? So Chinaza, you were the one who helped her. Who gave you the right to open that door for her? Her mom shouted. Mommy, the way you're treating Naomi isn't fair at all, Chinaza said, her voice shaking. I know I'm still a kid, but I know what's right. Please, have mercy on her. Chinaza's mom was furious. So you think you can talk to me like that? Come here, Chinaza, she ordered. Naomi pleaded, please, stepmom, don't beat Chinaza. Punish me instead. Just as her mom was about to hit her again, they heard their dad's voice. Is anybody home, Naomi? Chinaza, Dad is back. Her stepmom's face changed, and she hissed, if you ever tell your dad about today, I'll kill you when he leaves tomorrow. She slammed the door behind her. Naomi's dad called out for her in the parlor, and she quickly cleaned up her face and changed her clothes to hide the evidence of my stepmom's cruelty. Naomi greeted him, trying to sound cheerful, but he saw right through her. Daddy, welcome, Naomi said, trying to hide away her tears. He just kept quiet, looking at her for a minute. Naomi, you don't look okay, he exclaimed. What happened while I wasn't at home? She was shocked by his question, but Naomi pretended everything was fine. Why is he still asking me again? She thought to herself. Daddy, I'm fine, nothing happened, Naomi lied. But he didn't believe her. He don't think so, Naomi. Can you please just come closer, speak to me, I'm your dad, he said in a gentle voice. Naomi doubted telling him the truth, but after his pleading, she decided to open up. Daddy, I really suffered in the hands of your wife today, she said, my voice shaking. But before Naomi could continue, her stepmom gave Naomi a warning look. Daddy, she began to stammer. My dad's face turned red with anger. Naomi, are you okay? Look at me, Naomi, he shouted. Naomi tried to hide her tears, smiling wakly. Yes, Daddy, I'm fine. But her dad saw the truth. Oh my God, so she did this to you? Look at your whole body, including your head, full of strokes from canes. How could she do this to you? He called out to her stepmom, his voice thundering. Rose, Rose. Come here now, Naomi's stepmom tried to defend herself, but my dad was furious. Don't dare touch me, Rose. How could you flog my daughter Naomi? in such a terrible way. The argument escalated, with her stepmom shouting back at my dad. Honey, why this shouting? Do you know what she did? Mr. Man, don't get me provoked. Her eyes were fixed on her, full of anger and hatred. You're stupid, she said. Immediately, Naomi's dad gave her a dirty slap on her face. Naomi pleaded with her dad to stop hitting her. Daddy, please don't slap her again, please. Chinaza joined Naomi, begging their dad to stop. Daddy, please don't hit Mommy, she might have done wrong, but please pardon her for me. Their dad's anger slowly faded, and he left Mrs. Rose walking away in frustration. Naomi felt a mix of emotions, relief, fear, and sadness. She knew her stepmom's cruelty wouldn't end here, and she wondered what would happen. In fear, Naomi ran along with her daddy to his room. Daddy, it's okay, don't mind her, please, Naomi pleaded. You should have poured the anger on me, not her, she said. Are you for real, Naomi? My dad asked, surprised. Has she been treating you like this, since I was away? Naomi lied, no, it was only today. My dad asked, so, have you eaten? She replied, no, I haven't eaten, Dad. He quickly went to the kitchen, prepared a little suitable meal, and we began eating. Naomi wasn't happy at all for the action he took, but eating with her dad made her feel happy and at peace once again. As they ate, she felt a sense of comfort and security with her dad by her side. But deep down, Naomi knew it was temporary. After they finished eating, they both slept. Morning arrived quietly, and her dad got ready to go back to work. Daddy, are you leaving today? She asked, feeling a sense of dread. Yes, of course, dear, he replied. I promise to be back in 2 weeks, okay? Naomi pleaded, carry me along, please. But he said, you need to go to school, okay? Naomi knew she couldn't go with him, so she asked, anyways, I am late already. He handed her 5,000 naira and said, use this to buy those small stuff for yourself when you're hungry. He gave Naomi a kiss and said, bye-bye. She said, bye-bye, Daddy, and went back to bed, feeling empty and scared. Her presence changed instantly. She felt alone and vulnerable again. God, my dad is now gone, who knows what she's up to? Naomi thought to herself. Protect me, Lord God, I said silently, tears welling up in my eyes. As she lay in bed, she couldn't shake off the feeling of fear and uncertainty. What would happen to me now that my dad was gone? Naomi asked herself. Would her stepmom's cruelty continue? She felt so alone and helpless. Tears streamed down her face as she thought about her situation. I wished my dad could stay with me forever. Naomi cried. But she knew that was impossible. So Naomi prayed to God to protect her from her stepmom's wrath. While Naomi was still in bed, her stepmom banged into the room. So Naomi, you have grown wings that you can no longer obey my orders in this house, she shouted. Stepmom, please, I never told my dad anything, please, Naomi pleaded. But she wouldn't listen. You know what? I won't beat you or touch you now. Give me the 5,000 naira my husband gave to you. Naomi refused. No, Mrs. Rose, I won't. She pulled out a knife and said, now you're trying to prove stubborn, right? Seeing the knife, Naomi quickly gave her the money. Naomi, you are going to go to the farm now, to fetch me firewood. Do I make myself clear? She ordered. To avoid problems and trouble from Mrs. Rose, Naomi quickly took her machete and went to the farm in search of firewood. The road was calm, and she wondered if anyone had gone to the farm that day. Why was everywhere so calm, like a graveyard? As she walked, she felt like someone was following her, but whenever she turned, she saw no one. Naomi arrived at the farm and started cutting firewood from the tree, when suddenly someone touched her. Chijibem, what are you doing here? So you have been the one following me, she exclaimed. But he said, Naomi, it's not what you think. My mom knows already. Please leave here this minute. I don't want to get myself into trouble. Please allow me to do what I came here for. But he refused to leave and said, Naomi, the truth is, I like you. She told him to leave, but he wouldn't. He held her and pushed her to the ground. Chijibem, please don't do this to me. Please stop, she pleaded. But he wouldn't listen. By fire, by force, I must have a taste of you today, he said, laughing. Naomi pleaded, begged, and cried, but he never listened. Luckily, she was able to hit him hard on the head with a stone behind her, which led to her escape from him. As Naomi ran away, she felt a mix of emotions, fear, anger, and sadness. Why did Chijibem try to harm me? Why did my stepmom send me to the farm alone? She felt so alone and helpless. Tears streamed down her face as she thought about her situation. Naomi ran as fast as she could, her heart beating like a drum. She didn't stop until she reached home, exhausted and shaken. As Naomi entered the house, her stepmom looked at her with a wicked smile. So, you're back. How was your trip to the farm? She didn't answer, still trying to catch her breath. Naomi, answer me, she shouted. I went to the farm and got the firewood, she stammered. Good girl, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Now, go to your room and rest. You must be tired. Naomi went to her room, feeling like she was in a nightmare. Why was my life so miserable? She asked herself. As she lay on her bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Chijibem's attack. Why did he try to hurt me? Tears streamed down her face as she thought about her situation. She felt so alone and unloved. Just then, Naomi heard a knock on the door. It was Chinaza, my half-sister. Naomi, what's wrong? She asked, seeing her tears. Naomi told her everything about Chijibem's attack and my stepmom's cruelty. Chinaza listened, her eyes filled with compassion. Naomi, I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was this bad. We hugged each other, both of us crying. Why is our mom so cruel to you? Chinaza asked. Naomi shook her head. I don't know. I feel like I'm all alone in this world. Chinaza held me tight. You're not alone, Naomi. I'm here for you. But despite Chinaza's kindness, she couldn't shake off the feeling of sadness and fear. What would happen to me next? Would my stepmom's cruelty ever end? Naomi felt like she was walking on eggshells, never knowing when she would strike next. As her stepmom went to the kitchen to set some fire to cook, she saw that there was no wood, so she immediately shouted, Naomi. Yes, Mummy. I'm coming, she said, running from the room. Her heart began pumping because she knew that trouble awaited her outside.